All right, we're live. Welcome back to Barstool Units. I'm Coach Doug's with me, as always, from the Barstool office, Frank the Tank Fleming. Frank, how you doing?
All right, we just had a great road trip down to Miami.
Well, we had
Listening
a road trip.
news. On the road again. Gee, I can't wait to get on the road again.
It's going to be a while. It's going to be if we go back. I can't make any guarantees, but it's if it does happen again, it's going to be a while.
We did some raw dogging on the road. I mean, come on, there's got to be some places we had to go.
Yeah, I
See?
mean, I well, we when we go on the road, we obviously we stop, and that's one of the benefits of driving is that we can stop along the way. And we stopped. We probably got 4 or 5 different hot dog places along the way.
Yep.
Yeah, and so I
I think it
mean,
might be, who knows? Maybe next year we'll make the nice road trip to Alaska. There's no place like Nome.
yeah, I think that's one of those things where you might just go ahead and fly out there and rent a car. I'm
Well,
not
I
sure
did say
actually.
that we could have rented a car in Miami. But
Yeah,
I
but
think
then
it was fun.
yeah, then you're just I mean then you're just raw dogging around Miami. You're not hitting up Delaware, Virginia, North Carolina,
Maryland.
Maryland. So it's definitely one of the benefits of actually driving, or in your case, riding in the car, because you do not drive, thankfully, and we are thankful for that. We are thankful for that.
I
We are thankful
offered.
to drive. You did offer to drive. You offering to drive on a road trip is like a child offering to help with the lawn. Like I appreciate the effort. I appreciate the offer, but someone is going to lose their toes if you try and ride the lawnmower. You know what I mean?
There's
So, like,
something nice about how it's onto the grandson.
yeah, there you go. So, I appreciate the offer. It is for everyone's benefit that does not happen. But yes,
Uh,
so yeah, we just got back from the road trip. We went to
and
Miami.
what's interesting? Did the road trip actually begin a week ago today as the Queen died?
Yeah, just a couple hours into the road trip, you made the announcement. You made the formal decree. I'm driving down 95, and you decided to tell me then and there. Doug's, you might want to pull over. I've got some terrible news. The Queen Mum, has passed away. I was
Yeah, just think,
heartbroken. I was heartbroken.
just think how much harder that would have hit. Just think how much harder that would have hit if you were actually listening to I'm Keith Hernandez.
Yeah. I mean, that would have been odd, seeing as how it's an audio book. But yeah, I mean, I was torn up inside. I considered pulling off to the side of the road to really collect myself. I didn't. I For a moment I didn't think I was going to be able to continue the road trip. I thought we might all have to take a week or two off from doing anything. In order to mourn her passing.
Well, as a Jaguar fan, they're very close to London.
Yeah, well, I mean, when I think we were in Virginia when I decided to put in the pick, I already expected Jacksonville to do great things this season. And 2001, Patriots win their first Super Bowl. After Hurricane Katrina, New Orleans win their first Super Bowl. The Queen dies. Maybe London's team wins their first Super Bowl. I'm just saying the Jaguars could win their first Super Bowl. It could happen. Then I
I
watched them
mean,
play.
I think they'll actually throw a parade if the Jaguars make the playoffs this year.
Oh, London.
Yep.
Yeah, why not? I went to London in 2017 to watch them play the Ravens. That was our great year, and it was funny hearing the customs people ask like, "Oh, what are you here for?" I said, "Oh, we're here to see the Jaguars play." I'm like, "Oh, okay." And what team is that? They have no idea. It's the same thing as if there's an international soccer game here. You know, it'd be like telling somebody at the Jacksonville airport, "Oh, we're here to see Chelsea."
Yeah.
We're here
I
to
went
see Munich. Like they don't know.
I went through that just a couple of months ago with Abe. When I went through the border in Canada, they said, "Why are you coming to Canada?" I said, "See the Hockey Hall of Fame."
Yeah. So what? They don't know there's a Hockey Hall of Fame in Canada?
No, they just. I mean, I wonder how many people. I actually wonder how many people do say that to them. I'm here in Canada to see the Hockey Hall of Fame.
I mean, yeah, I don't know if those are comparable. But
Well,
yeah,
anyway, back to the road.
back to the road. So the queen died early on, and we decided to persevere. It's what she would have wanted. It's what
Yes,
she would have wanted. So we continued the road trip.
it's sad, but I understand that she was a subscriber to units.
That was what I heard. Obviously, she didn't have an account, but I heard one of her. I don't know what do you call them? Assistants? Not servants. Servants sounds very archaic. I don't want to use the word servant when I'm talking about a royal
Handlers.
family. Handler. When I hear handler, I think mascot. You know, like oh, that's their handler. Though I guess, but anyway, yeah. So there is word that around Buckingham Palace, some days you would hear Frank the Tank singing. Just we can neither confirm nor deny that that is legitimate, but that is
And yeah, she did. She'd have her tea and her crumpets.
yes, of course, of course. But yeah, we persevered, and we're still obviously mourning her passing, but it was a road trip. It was a road trip. Factual statements.
Mhm. I
Mar,
mean,
I tell you what, Marlins Stadium is nice.
I like Marlins Park.
I didn't expect it to be that nice.
I've been to 13. I've been to 13 now major league stadiums. Um, I won't put it in the bottom. I've been to better stadiums, obviously, but I definitely was pleased with the stadium. I like the
Nice.
bobblehead museum. The side. I like the view of Miami through the glass.
Yeah,
Roof was closed. Um, it's in a good location, and with they tried to like really play up to the Little Havana, which is not too far from the stadium.
mm,
So
yeah,
they tried to like draw in the Hispanic community. Not doing a good job of it, but that's because the Marlins just keep selling off players, and the fans are so jaded. I mean, we
yeah.
went to the game, and the announced attendance was 17,000. That's the announced attendance. Uh, that when they play the Mets, their attendance ticks up a little bit. It's football season, so it was definitely not as much as it normally is. They played a game on Monday night, a doubleheader after the Mets left town. The announced attendance was 4,000.
Wow, wow. Now I will say this: the night we went was Colombian Heritage Night, so that might have also had something to do with a lot of people in the stands. Colombian Heritage Night, Mets are in town, but it
I
was it
mean,
was
if
a
you
good stadium.
if you closed your eyes, you would thought you were at City Field.
Oh, absolutely. When probably in the fifth or sixth inning, the Mets scored a second run, right? Or was it? It was like 11-1 or 10. It was 10-1,
Well,
and I think the Mets.
I think it was the fourth inning. The Mets got 8 runs.
Okay, and so in like the fifth or sixth inning, the Marlins got a second run,
Seventh
and
inning, yeah.
the seventh inning, there was a Marlins fan in front of us who was cheering. He was really excited about the second run, and all of the Mets fans around him were also cheering just because they were happy for him. They were happy for him, so they were like, "Yeah, you did it. Good job, buddy. You did it." And he was just like he was having a good time. But yeah, that was pretty much the baseball game we watched. Was that the
And
Mets fans clapping because they were
we
happy?
got on TV.
We did get on TV. I would say I was kind of I you got on TV and I happened to be on screen. I happened to also be in the vicinity uh, that where you got on TV.
Talked about the dark side of Mets Twitter.
Yeah. And from my understanding, the director of the program knows who you are. He's active on Twitter, and he happened to show y'all. He happened to show you while they started talking about Twitter, and then I guess the guys in the booth, are somewhat aware of the negativity on Twitter, and so it just gave a good opportunity for the director to go back to your shot and show you while they're talking about the dark side of Mets Twitter. He said it's a shade darker. Now, what are your thoughts on that? I've been told they don't know who you are, like the guys in the booth. So like the
They know
directors,
who
like
I am.
obviously everyone around them is aware of who you like knows who you are. I'm not sure they are aware of who you are.
They
You
might
think that
not
you
know me by name or face, but they know who I am.
can we please quote that? They might not know my name or my face, but they know who I am. What do you mean by that?
Well, this is the second time it's happened. I was watching when the Mets were on that stupid Apple TV, and Katie Nolan talked about how certain Met fans would call used to call now love Edwin Diaz, and at once they called him Ed Luz.
Mhm.
There was nobody else that used that name. That was me, only me.
Are you happy? Are you happy with like where you are? Like
Well, I'm
that
happy
they
I'm
know.
at Barstool,
No,
but
of course, of course.
The Mets are in total fucking collapse again. It's 2007. 2007 never fucking dies. They're gonna blow. They're gonna blow the wild card. They got swept by the Cubs. They're lucky that the Braves have lost four out of their last five. Otherwise, they'd be uh they'd be careening down to second place with the fast charging Phillies, who are gonna be zooming past the Mets before you know it. It's two. This is exactly how 2007 played out.
Now, the Phillies are what, like 8 games back right now?
Seven.
Seven? Is it seven or
I
eight?
think it's seven. It's either seven or eight. I don't remember which one.
I think it might be eight. It's
But
probably going to be seven by the time we're done recording this.
yeah. But the Mets are going to get swept by the Pirates. There's no doubt about it. And they're going to get swept by the Brewers. And then next thing you know, the Brewers are going to be just a couple of games behind them. I mean, the Mets magic number has been stuck on seven for a friggin' week now. They've only won two of their last. I mean, they're playing like utter shit. This was a 16 game stretch where they were supposed to be the easy teams. Well, you know what? The best they can finish is 8-8 in this 16 game stretch.
What and so well I actually I mentioned this to you a few weeks back when it like there's things that you'll see every day and like just something happens where it clicks and you're like, "Oh, I get it now." Weeks ago I told you you are Randy Quaid's character in Major League.
Doug's, you're not the first person to tell me that.
I know that that doesn't surprise me at all. But it's not something I like. I don't think it's in your Twitter bio. I don't think your Twitter bio says I'm the Randy Quaid of Mets Major League. It
I
was
mean,
just something I really.
I always thought it's a missed opportunity for someone. No one's made a shirt or a gif of me with my head on Randy Cage's face.
Yeah, and so I mean, listen, if anyone's out there and wants to make that GIF, please go for it. And if but it got me. I was like, oh, that's Frank. Frank is that even when you go to the World Series, they're gonna blow it in the playoffs. Like
Yes,
that's your character. That's who you are. And
yes.
so,
I've suffered through nearly 40 years of misery.
well, is it 40 years of misery? Y'all have been miserable for 40 years?
Well, let's see. After winning the World Series 35 years ago, they
Mhm.
had drugs and injuries wrecked the 87 season. 88, they
Well, I mean,
choked
listen,
against the
I mean,
Dodgers.
let's
What?
stop right there. Drugs were a major part of the 86 season. So let's not blame drugs on 87.
But nobody actually had to go to rehab in '86.
Well, no, because they were winners. They weren't quitters.
Yeah, '87. Dwight Gooden missed the first 2 months because he was in rehab.
Now, he missed the first 2 months. He was already in rehab, or had the Mets started losing, so he went to rehab?
No, at the start of the season, he had to go. He checked into rehab, just like at the end of spring training.
Okay, so he already knew. He saw. Okay, so he had already seen spring training and knew this team's going nowhere. I got to get out of here.
Well, they had a lot of injuries. 93. They still won about 93 games. Didn't win the division. Didn't go to playoffs. '88. They won 100 games and lost the Dodgers in the NLCS.
Okay, so it's not 40 years. We don't have to go through every year, Frank, but it's not been 40 years of misery. You've just listed off 3 or 4 seasons where they almost won 100 games. So it hasn't been 40 years of misery.
Well, they had 7 straight consecutive losing seasons from 91 to 96.
So you think the Mets are gonna? You think the Mets should have a winning season every year?
The Yankees haven't had a losing season since
Mathematically, it just doesn't make any sense.
Well, the Yankees haven't had a losing season since '92.
Yeah, well, you're the one that predicted they would blow that this year, and they didn't do it.
Yeah, well, that fucking sucks.
Yeah,
and I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for the Yankees to have a losing season.
So knowing that you're Randy Quaid's character from Major League, what's it going to be like if there is a parade, if there is a World Series parade? Do you think you are allowed to go to the parade?
I should be.
Why? Pitch
me.
I
tell you what.
I tell you what.
If the Mets win the World Series, I will not criticize them for 5 years.
If they go to the World Series.
What?
You say if they go or they win?
Win.
Okay. You won't criticize them for 5 years, no matter what happens. 5 years. You would be silent on Twitter for 5 years if the Mets won the World Series.
I don't know if I'll necessarily be silent, but I'll definitely pull my punches, and I won't be as harsh and critical.
Okay, all right. That's okay.
I won't have.
That's not it.
I'll tell you this. I'll be more of the temperament of Clem.
That's impossible. Clem is an angel.
Then I'll be more of the temperament of Phil.
When we're making listen, I don't want to get you into a bet like Clem has, because that would not end well for you, obviously. But when these kind of bets come up, there has to be something more defined than I'll hold some punches. That doesn't really mean anything. But you think about it, and you tell me how long after the World Series you would be negative free on Twitter. If the Mets win the World Series, how long would you go without being negative? You said you wouldn't criticize them for 5 years. Could you do that on Twitter for 5 years?
I could try. And I definitely will not be as harsh. I definitely have a lot more room. I'd have peace.
You'd have peace until they traded DeGrom to Atlanta, and then you'd flip out on them.
Well, I don't want to be the fucking Marlins.
Who does? But the Marlins, going back to the road trip, the Marlins Stadium was actually really nice. Hard Rock, we got some seats in the clubhouse.
Yes, and let's thank the Tank Brewing Company for setting us up. They set us up really good.
The Tank Brewing Company. That's just a coincidence.
They had really great people. They set us up. We sat in a place where we were outside, but there was easy access to the club level. So if we needed to cool down for a few minutes, and it was hot, I mean,
Yeah,
you look down the Patriot bench; those players were fucking miserable,
yeah. Well, yeah,
and that's what I like
they
about
had
Dolphins.
guys with holding shades for them.
Yeah, and that's what one thing I always notice about the Dolphins is they don't wear the aqua uniform at home. They wear white at home unless it's a night game or like a later season game. It's gonna
Mhm.
they always wear the white at home, especially in the early part of the season. And the early part of the season, it's hot as hell in Miami.
Yeah,
And come third quarter, the shade begins to set in, and it shades the entire Dolphins bench.
yeah,
While the sun beats down, it is beating down on the visiting bench over there. And the Patriots just looked miserable. They are wilting. And that game, it should have been a shutout if it wasn't for just a phantom like illegal contact penalty on fourth down that gave the Patriots a first down. I don't think the Patriots scored in this game. That game was one play away from being a shutout.
yeah, yeah. It was it was very close to that. Obviously, the Dolphins. I mean, if you looked at the first drive, though, the Dolphins looked like they were in trouble from the get go. If there wasn't that tipped pass in the end zone, you know,
Yeah, I think the Patriots came out scripted a series and it had the Dolphins on their heels for a minute. But and if you look at the play, it was it was just a terrible decision by Mac Jones, where he wanted to it was almost like shove it down the Dolphins' throat by throwing to the former Dolphin Devontae Parker, and the ball was just bounced up perfectly defended, bounced up by Xavier Howard, the Holiday, and the Hollander, and it was just perfectly timed defensive back play, and from there the Patriots never really got their offense going again.
yeah, yeah. Well, it was at that point. It was once the Dolphins went down and scored. You know, they kept it kind of close for a while, but yeah, it was a fun game. We left as
You
soon
know
as
what
the game was over with.
you know what's funny about the game is it was the quickest played game on Sunday.
Yeah,
I mean, when the Dolphin game was over, every other game had at least 5 minutes left.
yeah. By the time we got back to the car, we were already leaving the parking lot when other games were still in overtime. But we were able to
And
leave we were able to leave the parking lot just fine. Our car was intact.
I'm glad we parked where we did. I'm not sure exactly where the the flaming moron was with the leaving his grill on while he put it back in his car. I mean, what an idiot!
That's it's a I just it's one of those things where you wish it was just your car. Like that's what happens when you come out. You see all these cars burned to a crisp, and you just go, "Please make sure this wasn't me." Like you don't want to be that guy. I feel bad for him. I feel bad for him.
Oh yeah, and you know he's going to get that bill. He's going to get that bill. He's going to get that
Oh
tax bill.
yeah, it's going to be crazy. But so some of the games, like I said, some of the games were still going on by the time we were leaving, including the what was it Pittsburgh Cincinnati. Pittsburgh Cincinnati. I They were in
Almost had
overtime.
2 games and in 2020 ties.
Yeah. I had Pittsburgh Cincinnati over 43 and a half, I think, over 44 and a half. Needed a touchdown in overtime, and I didn't get it. They got a field goal. I ended up, I think I only went 1-4 for NFL. I told it out after our first 2 weeks. I'm 6-8-1. You have me on a game. You are 7-7-1, but it's still early on in the season.
You know what? You know what game ticks me off, and this is the one that just like really frustrates me because I was also involved separately in an eliminator pool. And I'm seeing, okay, it's Russell Wilson going back to Seattle against a Seahawks team that looks like one of the worst teams in the NFL. And I still think they're going to be one of the worst teams in the NFL. And this Bronco coach did not have his team ready to play. They had 13 penalties. Most of them are like substitution penalties and getting to play in. Then they fumbled the ball twice at the goal line. And the biggest thing of all is fourth down and 5 with 1 minute left. They they click down the clock and try a 64-yard field goal. What are you doing?
I don't know. I mean,
I think it's safe to say that Nathaniel can't hack it.
Okay, so obviously the time management, clock management is garbage. But I think that's my biggest takeaway from that is just the clock management. The idea of having his kicker kick the field goal or attempt to kick the field goal, that doesn't bother me as much. The clock management from Russell Wilson is a veteran QB. He should be able to call a timeout. He should know where he is on the field. He should know how much time is left, and he should be able to call a timeout. Obviously, it's on the coach as well.
I honestly think that Hackett just said don't call timeout. I think that was all Hackett.
As a quarterback, you have to call a timeout. You're the guy on the field. I think they let it go from 54 seconds down to like 20 seconds before they literally let the play clock run out and then call a timeout.
I mean, what I love is the Manning cast is Pete Manning's reaction.
Yeah.
And then the next day, the coach announced that I would have done that. I should have done that differently.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what else? Yeah. What else is he going to say? Oh no, I would have done the. Yeah, because if he says I would have done the same thing again, he's an idiot. But again,
that guy's got 16. That guy's got 16 games now to erase the memory of that game. Yes, if he doesn't, he's going to be a one and done coach.
Good possibility. Again, the idea of trying to kick a 64-yard field goal doesn't bother me as much, though. I know a lot of people are questioning, saying like, don't kick it, like it's 4th and 5, go for it. If you trust your kicker and you know he can kick a 64-yarder, no problem, why not?
But here's why I have a problem with it. That would have been the third longest kick in NFL history.
That doesn't matter though.
To me,
how does it? The idea that only 2 other kickers have kicked longer than that before, that has no bearing on whether that kicker can kick a 64-yard field.
You can't. If the kicker misses it, he misses it. I think the chances of him hitting the field goal are like 5%.
Well, no, now you're making up numbers, Frank. I think his chances of making it were 95%. You see how silly that sounds? You can't just make up numbers like that.
But it's just the odds of a kick being made are infinitesimial.
Well, no, you don't know that.
Compared to a Hall of Fame quarterback trying to get a first down on 4th and 5 that he's probably done a couple of dozen times in his career.
Okay. Again, though, but I mean, has this kicker tried kicking a 64-yard field goal dozens of times in his career? Well, you're comparing Seahawks and Broncos right now. You're apples and oranges.
His longest kick, I think, was like 57 yards.
Mm-hmm. What I'm saying is you can't say because it hasn't been done before or because it would be the 3rd longest kick, therefore he can't kick it. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense logically. It doesn't make sense statistically.
I mean, it's just too long of kick to try there.
But you don't know that, though.
But you're not giving your team a chance to win. I mean, he
If
makes the kick.
if
It's
he
a
would have
miracle
made the
kick.
field goal, if he would have made the field goal, the team would have been winning. What are you talking about?
But it's a miracle kick. You try 64-yard field goals when there's 10 seconds left and no
There
timeouts.
was
They had 3 timeouts, and he's trying a 64-yard field goal. That is a just an absolute loser
again.
mentality from a coach.
Well, no. Okay. Again, clock management. They should have never been in the position to begin with. However, kicking a 64-yard field goal, I have no problem with calling that.
Ooh.
I have no problem with that call.
I,
You saying
I, I
that he didn't make it because no one else has, or that because only 2 people have kicked it further, that
it,
doesn't that has no
to
bearing
me,
on his capability.
you got to let your team win or lose the game on the field, and he didn't let his team win or lose. He he took the ball out of the hands of his quarterback, which he traded
Okay,
4
so the
draft
kicker's
picks for.
the team. So the kicker is not a member of the team.
You got to put the kicker in a position that he could win it. I don't
He
expect my kicker to make a 64-yard field goal
so you only put the kicker in when you expect him to make it.
unless you're desperate, and they weren't desperate. If they could have,
They had it was fourth down, was it not? Fourth down and
but
5.
but by the way, you two guys that have kicked longer than 64-yard field goals have
Mm-hmm.
something in common. One was at the end of a half. The other was at the end of a game. The kick by Justin Tucker last year, probably one of the best kickers of all time,
Mm-hmm.
was at the end of a
The one of
game.
the one
The
of you don't have
Lions
to say
had
probably.
the Lions had no time. The Ravens had no timeouts. There was 2 seconds left. They said they waited. Do we have a better chance of winning with a Hail Mary, or do we have a better chance of winning with Justin Tucker kicking the longest field goal in NFL history? They tried to kick. They won. That's a big difference. It's a big difference.
Again, that has no bearing on whether this kicker is able to kick a 64-yard field goal. That
I
has no
mean,
bearing. They are completely separated.
but you don't
One
try
is
a
not
64-yard field goal if you have time and timeouts.
okay. Here's a question, Frank. You're talking about a team again because we're talking about this team. We're talking about the Denver Broncos that you just saw lose to the Seattle Seahawks. You're telling me this team that literally wasted 30 seconds off of a play clock before calling timeout. You're telling me that even if they get a first down, you trust that team to manage the clock appropriately.
Well, he's the coach. It's the whole package. The taking down this 30 seconds is ridiculous.
Yeah, again, Frank, we are on the same page. The clock management was garbage. If you want to fire him just for that reason, I'm okay with that. But saying you don't try a 64-yard field goal is silly to me.
And I'm not saying, and you're at a position where you can play for the field goal. So you get the 4th and 5, you get the first down, and then maybe you get another 10 yards. You can take the clock
You
down to 3 seconds
again,
and kick
we're
a
talking about a
49-yard
team that
field
just
goal.
wasted 30 seconds. We're talking about a team
What?
that just wasted 30 seconds.
But
They
everything this
literally
coach did was garbage.
and so, well, what I'm saying is, so you're saying, oh, the team who just wasted 30 seconds off the clock should go for a 4th and 5 because then I trust them to be a better offense. It doesn't make any sense.
The trying a 64-yard field goal is you make it, you win, you lose, you don't, you lose. I mean,
That's how it
I like
works.
my chances a lot better trying a 4th and 5.
Okay. All right. Okay. So let's get into our picks for this week.
Yes, that's right. Gonna go to college picks.
Yep.
All right, let's see. right. All right. Well, first off, Notre Dame is. We haven't even talked about Notre Dame. What an embarrassing loss last week to Marshall.
Well,
Embarrassing.
it's the herd, Frank.
And I think right now Notre Dame, Marcus Freeman, he's he could find himself on the hot seat real soon. I mean, they better turn things around really fast. I know I wasn't expecting much of the Irish this year. I was expecting kind of just be a transition year. Losing to Marshall though is unacceptable. Unacceptable. This weekend they're going to try to get things going. They're 11-point favorites. They're going to be wearing the green uniforms against California. You know, I'm going to take Notre Dame. I'm going to say that they're going to bounce back. They're going to have a good game. They're going to win in South Bend. Because if they don't, there might be hell to fucking pay. My second game, I'm going to go with the Ducks. BYU. Everyone always talks about BYU. 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 BYU is not going to beat Oregon. I'm going to take the Ducks -3.5. All right. Here's my dog of the week. Well, I have two dogs, actually. My first dog, I'm going to take Auburn. Auburn playing at home. They're a home dog to Penn State. I haven't been too impressed with what I've seen from Penn State. I'm taking Auburn +3, and I think Auburn even wins the game outright. And now this is one that's going to be kind of one of those situations. You fire a coach to try to spark your team. This week, Nebraska finally decided to defrost the football program. They'll have a new coach on the field as they take on a historic rival, Oklahoma. 50 years ago, this was the biggest rivalry in college football. Oklahoma won, Nebraska 2. They played on Thanksgiving, and everyone stopped to watch this game. They didn't even care who was playing the NFL that day. It was Nebraska, Oklahoma 1 versus 2, and they were a great rival all those years in the Big 12. And then Nebraska went to the Big 10 as all these super conferences continue to kill great rivalries. But the rivalry is renewed this week. Nebraska is renewed. I don't know if they're going to win the game, but they are going to keep that. That game is going to be decided by less than a touchdown. I like the Cornhuskers +11.
All right.
And then my over-under this week, I'm going to go Iowa and Nevada. The over-under is 39. I'm going to go under. And Iowa's actually listed as a 23-point favorite, which I can't understand. I don't even think Iowa can score 23 points. I don't think Iowa could score 23 points if you gave them 2 fucking games. Their offense is offensive. Their offense can't do anything. Their offense looks like me playing Madden. I mean, that's how bad the Iowa offense is.
Yeah,
I think they'll win the game, but I'm gonna go under 39 for Iowa, Nevada.
All right, fair enough. So I also have Nebraska +11 here. Let me let me go ahead and give my other 4 picks here, and maybe I'll pick something else just because I don't want too much crossover here. Although that would only be the one crossover, but obviously starting out Florida State at home tomorrow night, Friday night, versus Louisville, and they're favored. So I'm going to take FSU -2.5 versus Louisville. Let's see here.
I considered taking that one, but I didn't because I know you couldn't. You're going to do it.
Yeah, and it's one of those where I have to take FSU. I'll go ahead. Michigan -48 versus UConn. I took Hawaii. +52, and I was right on there. I got that covered. This week, Michigan plays UConn, and they're favored by 48 points. I'm going to take
Michigan's going for a real powerhouse schedule this year, I say.
Yeah. Well, I'm taking them. I trusted Hawaii to cover. I don't trust UConn to cover, so I'm taking Michigan -48. Western Michigan, Kalamazoo plus 10.5 versus Pittsburgh. I believe, I'm not sure who Pittsburgh's QB is. I believe he was taken out of the game versus Tennessee. So I'm not sure who that is. So I will take Western Michigan plus 10.5. Next, I'm going to take USF plus 24 versus Florida. Who is Florida beating this year?
They beat who did they beat?
They beat Utah 29-26. And who has Utah beat? Utah State. So transitive property rights. Florida hasn't beat anybody this year. I can see this game going 42-20. I'll gladly take USF plus 24. And you know what? I'm sticking with it. I like the pick. If we're both wrong, we're both wrong. It doesn't really change the total
All
at
right,
all.
yeah,
But
yeah. We'll
I'm
have
also
occasional
taking
games where we
Nebraska
have
plus.
agreements.
What's the over in that?
Oh, I didn't look that one up.
Let's see here. Yeah, let me see here. Let me just take a look at the over and see if I can find
Yeah,
it.
you didn't do an over under.
I didn't. Is that are you making that a rule now? We have to take one?
No, I just like that we were all doing over unders, at least
Yeah.
one.
Let me see here. Shoot, where is it? Nebraska. Da, 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 da. All right. How about this? While I'm looking this up, you start on your NFL picks.
All right, I'm gonna go to the. Obviously, I have to pick the Dolphin game. I kind of like what I
Obviously.
saw from the Dolphins, especially their defense. This is going to be a tough game to go in on the road, to go into Baltimore. Ravens are a good team, home opener. But you know what? I think the Dolphins are a good team, and they might lose the game. But you know what? If they lose the game, it's going to be only by a field goal. The spread is Baltimore 3.5, so I'm taking the Dolphins plus 3.5. The other team we saw on the field did not look good. The Patriots. Steelers went into Cincinnati, won a game on heart and grit in overtime. And they're coming home and are 2-point underdogs to the Patriots. These aren't your father's Patriots. These are your grandfather's Patriots. Well, maybe not grandfather's Patriots. They're not the Patsies. But they're a team that's rebuilding. And I think Bill Belichick knows deep down that they're a team that's rebuilding. And I think right now he's starting to have his doubts about Mac Jones, and that offense is going to be tight. Steelers, even without TJ Watt, got a great defense. I'm taking the Steelers +2. Steelers are going to win that game outright. Then we're going to go to I'm going to give my over/under next. You know what I've been saying about Tampa. Tampa won their first game. The Cowboys stunk it up, but Tampa's defense looked impressive. The Saints had a nice comeback win against the Falcons.
Not
I think the
enough.
Saints can win the game, and I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I'm going to go under 44 points, Saints Buccaneers. My next game, I'm going to go to the Sunday Nighter. And the Packers last year, they had a bad game to start the season and then bounced back and kicked ass. Won another division. I think that's going to happen again this year. I think you're going to see the Packers come out and they're going to hammer the Bears. The Bears won last week in the rain. The rain was the Bears MVP last week. I don't think the Bears are going to get that lucky this week. I think it's going to be Aaron Rodgers once again, just looking at the camera, looking at Big Cat, looking at his soul, and saying, "I own your ass," as he once again just demolishes the Bears. Packers -10. And my final game is one of the Monday night games. I'm going to take the Eagles -2. Jalen Hurts looked good last week. Nice win for the Lions in Detroit. Now they come home, host the Vikings against Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins turns into the worst quarterback in the NFL when you put him on Monday night. In fact, he comes out and he has that song, "I don't like Mondays. I don't like Mondays. Ooh, ooh." And Kirk Cousins never wins on Monday Night Football. He is terrible on Monday night. He's terrible under the lights. Eagles -2.
All right. Yeah, I like that. I like that pick. I'm so for the Nebraska Oklahoma over under is 66 and a half. I will not take Nebraska plus 11 so that we're not on the same pick there. I will take the under.
That's a
So
good
I'm
under.
taking yeah, I'm taking Nebraska Oklahoma under 66 and a half. I mean I'm surprised it's that high. I mean, if
That is
Nebraska's
a that is a that is a great under.
I don't like the way you're saying that. You trying to jinx this already?
Nope. It's in fact
All
I'm going to
right.
bet it myself.
Well, not on the unit belt,
No,
but
but
you'll take the
yes.
All right, fair enough. Fair enough. All right, so my NFL picks, I don't think we have anything crossing over here. I'm going to take New York Football Giants -2 versus Carolina.
I'm glad. I'm glad. I almost took that one. I almost took that one.
I'm going to take Jacksonville +4 versus the Indianapolis Colts. We talked about earlier, the Colts have not won in Jacksonville since 2014.
There's two jinxes on the Colts. One, they don't win in week one. Two, they don't win in Jacksonville.
Yeah, actually, and so when we went 1-15 2 years ago, it was week one at home, Indianapolis versus Jacksonville. That was our one
Mhm.
win. It was week one, and it was at home.
Since 2020, the Jaguars have won 4 games. Two of those games are against the Colts in Jacksonville.
Yeah, and the other, obviously, I remember what's the fourth one? The third one is going to be at home versus Miami in London. I remember that one.
Yep.
What's the fourth? What's the
Bills.
fourth one? Oh, that's
Bills.
right, Bills. I missed that game because we were down in Miami. We were watching Miami Dolphins last year. So I'm taking Jacksonville +4 versus the Colts. I I can't believe we're the underdog in that fight. So Jacksonville +4. Pats Steelers over 40. I feel like that's a low over. I feel comfortable taking over 40 in that. I'm going to take Detroit Lions -2 versus Washington. Washington beat the Jaguars because the Jaguars could not capitalize and could not take advantage of a lot of scoring opportunities. I think Detroit will be able to do that. So I'm taking Detroit -2. And to finish it out, I'm going to take Buffalo -10 versus the Titans. I have a source very close to the Titans team, who has recently told me that he doesn't have any confidence in certain players and or coaches and or water boys on the team, and so I feel very confident Buffalo -10.
I got to say this. I would probably take at least 4 out of your 5 NFL picks.
That does not make me feel confident at all. But that's why we're doing the unit belt. We will get this situated. So those are our college football and NFL picks. Tonight, we're staying in the office for Thursday Night Football. Before Thursday Night Football, we're going to be drafting the first ever fantasy football card league. Frank, you're in it with me. We're going to get Jerry in here where we're drafting our teams, but it doesn't matter how the player performs. It matters how their card performs. And so each week we'll be looking at the values of the cards and seeing who has the best team, portfolio value wise, and that's going to be a lot of fun coming up this season.
Yeah, definitely, it's going to be something interesting to try. It's something new, and I think it's something that that could catch on.
It could be. It could. It's just I had an idea for it, and I thought, hey, this is a cool idea. Let me see who I can get involved. There is a group called LXXI out of Chicago. I believe one of their investors is Brian Urlacher. And they're having a couple guys come into the office later on to show us the app and everything. And that's how we're going to track the portfolio values and everything with that team. But yeah, it should be fun, and it's something, like I said, I haven't seen it done before. So that's what Dave talked about last night. You get people in here who have ideas, and you try them out, and if it works, it works. Let's do it.
There's no harm in trying.
Nope.
There's no harm in trying to get your 4th down and 5, you stupid idiot coach. Nathaniel, you can't hack it.
All right. And so that's Barstool Units. I'm Coach Doug's. With me, as always, Frank the Tank. Frank, please take us out.
On the road again. Gee, I can't wait to get on the road again. Next time, let's go to Nome, Alaska, so we can really go on the road.
Never going to happen.
We have to find the next spot to go. You know what? South Bend.
That sounds more reasonable. All right, click like and subscribe. Follow us on all the socials. See you next time.